What's up, baby? Welcome back. Another episode. I don't even remember what number this is. $5 foot long. Five. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
5 on it.
We back at it again. Thank you for joining me today to What the Hell Are We Doing? The podcast that discusses love, life hurdles, and everything in between through incessant babbling. As y'all know, I be talking. But today, I am happy to have a special guest, Tiffany.
Hey.
She is a teacher, a history teacher at that. We met at a photo shoot. Was that 2 years, 3, 2? It was before the pandemic or during the pandemic?
No, it was before. No, it was during, because I was teaching from home at the time.
Mm-hmm. We met at a photo shoot.
Yes.
Then we started following each other, and then it just, like, our relationship just kind of, I feel like, formed organically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And then here we are today.
Yes.
And so with the topic of being, before we get into the topic, I'm jumping all into it. I'm so excited to talk about it. Okay. So I have this, like, intro thing that I do.
Okay.
It's my drinking cards. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
So, if you have done it, so you have to read a card. And if you've done it, you got to drink your drink.
My water.
Her water. I didn't even try to make it seem like that. They're like, ooh, what's she drinking? It's water, y'all. It's water. And then, of course, I got my drink because my drink, yeah. All right. So
Okay.
pick a card.
Right. Okay, do you want me to read it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says, drink if you've ever quit a job and why. So I'm definitely going to drink to this.
Okay. What job did you quit and why?
I have actually quit a couple jobs, but one of them was I just didn't feel like I was appreciated, and they kind of took me for granted, so I left, and it was a good decision because it's what put me on the path to go to school.
That's good.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't for me, so I'm
You
off.
ain't do it like, you know how they be like, I quit, I'm tired of this shit. Yeah. Okay, no. Okay.
No, I just told them I'm good, I'm peace. I don't think I've ever had, like... Yeah, I don't think I've ever quit like that before.
That's good.
Yeah.
I recently quit a job, my retail job. I still don't say the name just because it's on here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it really was because working full time and then working part time, I had no time. It was.
You
bad.
were always busy.
Always.
It's
He
like,
was
girl, let's
"Hey,
do
you
a
wanna
shoot.
hang
Let's
out?
do
Oh,
something.
I gotta work. I'm on this day. I'm on this.
Yeah.
And like now, I don't work as much. Yeah, no, I'm Tuesday through Saturday now.
Oh, that's
I'm off at
nice.
3. But I still don't be doing that. But that's the thing in itself. But now I have so much more free time. I think I sleep more than anything.
Sleep is good, and sleep is necessary. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone say what you were for Halloween last year. Everyone votes on the best. I ain't finna do that. Because we don't even know what the costumes are. Sorry, y'all. I'm gonna go.
I'm thinking though, what was I last year?
Where were you?
I was a Playboy bunny with Jesus.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was
Sexy.
fun. Kind of overdone, but it was still fun to do it. Yeah.
They say Halloween for women is the excuse we get to dress like sluts. I mean, that's a little slight. Drink if you had to learn cursive in elementary school. Everybody did.
They don't anymore. That shows I think we're getting kind of old.
For real? So how do you sign their name? They be doing like circles and be like, there's my signature.
Pretty much an X.
Oh.
Next. I don't know. I love cursive, so I try to encourage my students to still write in cursive, but it's hard. I can't read it.
What grade do you teach?
High school, so 10th through 12th grade. Yeah.
You know what I thought about?
What?
Never mind. I'm just kind of ignorant, so I ain't finna say it. Okay, I gotta say it. Been spending most our lives living dangerous minds.
Oh.
Every time I think about teachers, I be picturing like, and then you say it's hard. She was in there like, you gotta do it. You can. She encouraged them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I know you be encouraging your students.
I try to, but it's definitely it's a challenge in itself. And I am at an alternative school, so the harder kids. But
Okay, I got a question.
okay,
Because my friend is an elementary school teacher, like out in Florida. Do the students be hitting on you like, "Hey, Miss Tiffany, you look nice today"?
no,
Really?
no. I think it's because again, for a lot of students, I am their first Black teacher, and I tell them in this classroom, I am the queen, therefore I rule, right? If you don't like it, you can go. And so they don't really like that too much. So I'm kind of the mean teacher, I guess you should say. But after I've had some students try to slide in my DMs and stuff, like,
Not
it's like,
sliding in DM.
Yes.
They said not at school. I'm gonna get you after school.
I'm like, didn't you call me a bitch? Wasn't that you that I threw out of my class? Like, now you want me to go to lunch with you? I think not.
How do you handle that? Like, all right, y'all got enough questions. We finna just get into it. But because I'm really interested in this. But like, how do you handle that and like having them say that to you?
I mean, at first I was taken back a bit, but now honestly, and especially this last year, it's I'm used to it. Yeah, it's just like one student said that to me over after I was going through the disclosure, talking about like the cell phone policy, like can't have the cell phones out when we're working on stuff. If you need to, you can step out. And she's like, "You're a bitch," and I'm like, "Well, I could say the same about you, huh? But I don't know you." And she was so taken back that I was able to say something.
Like you match her energy,
Yes.
but like in a classy way.
Yeah, like I don't know. And I tell them, like your thoughts and the way you feel about me is not a reflection on me. It's a reflection on you. Yeah. I'm here to help you, to assist you, to push you. And if you don't like that, then that's kind of on you. It's what you have to deal with.
That's so good.
It sucks. Like, it sucks to have students say that, or
yeah.
Like, especially this year, I have like a group of mean girls who have decided to group together to try to make my life a living hell. But at this point, it's kind of laughable. But for a while, I was kind of triggered. I will say that. Again, like we had a whole special group come into our school and talk about how it's really hard on social studies teachers right now because everything's become so political with the whole CRT. And I emphasize on multicultural curriculum. And again, for me being the first Black teacher and then also talking about social studies, kids are like not okay with me telling them that Columbus was not a great, wonderful guy that we should be celebrating, teaching them about the Chicano movement. I've had a student literally tell me, "You teach too much Black history." I'm like, "I'm sorry." 'Cause she's like, "It's not even February." What?
Sorry.
Right. Yes.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, there's the door.
We know what household she come from.
You want to know what's sad, though, is that she loves to chase around the little Black boy. Well, they're not little. She loves to chase around the Black boys, considers herself a sneakerhead. So she loves the Black men and the Black culture, just not learning about Black history.
Ain't that how it is mostly, though? They love the Black culture. They love the Black men. But when it comes to, like, oh, here's all the issues that come with being association and being Black, they be like, ooh, actually.
And then not know how to raise the children, the biracial children. Yeah,
I be seeing that a lot. These kids out here looking all kind of no lotion and but that's the thing in itself. I can't imagine because like you are 24/7 like immersed in everything that is happening like in the world and today. Like everything that's happening in the news, like you see it all the time.
Yes, and to try to bring it to the forefront in a non-biased way can be challenging. But to see how it does affect these students at such a young age is challenging. So teachers need a lot of self-love.
Yeah.
Self-care.
I was just going to say, like, with that, and like, I don't know if you're that type of teacher, like some people are like really empathic, I guess, or empathetic, not empathic, empathetic. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And they carry it with them. Like, are you like that?
Yes.
And how do you like disassociate, or how have you learned to like not let it roll off, or like what do you do to when you get home? You're like, I'm home now.
I mean, I'm still learning how to do that, to be honest. And it's a challenge with different scenarios, comes different ways to handle it. But I can say also yoga has definitely helped me release some of that and not carry it on me. But for the most part, I mean, there are some days I have teenagers myself.
Yeah.
So I get home and I don't want to talk to another teenager.
Yeah.
I don't want to have that conversation. And it's not necessarily fair to them. So I'm still working on it, but I think that I have got better over the years. And
Yeah.
yoga, time to myself, just when I get home, give me at least 10 minutes. I might be doing a meditation. I might just be crying. I might, who knows, but just give me at least 10 minutes to ground myself.
That's good. Okay, so you did mention self-love, and that was like what I wanted to discuss today. I definitely wanted to have you on the show today in regards to that, because I feel like that is something that you really are aware of within yourself. I know we haven't had a ton of conversation by it, but just from, I guess, feeling it, if that, and so that's really important to you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I think this would be a great topic to have you on. That's why I wanted you on. But what is self-love to you? Like, what's your definition of self-love?
I guess I should have thought about that a little more, because a definition for myself of what self-love is I think just being true to yourself. And I think self-love is not something we're necessarily born with, but something that we cultivate over time. And it's just knowing and understanding yourself and having boundaries.
The B word. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just playing with it. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, because I think, like, for me, self-love is, like, really creating a space for yourself, because every day we are changing. Some days is good, some days is bad, but just giving yourself that grace to go through the ebbs and flows of your emotions and not judging yourself for it, and being able to accept, like, the parts that people may deem to be bad, as well as the good. I think in the society that we are in now, like, they're so black and white when it comes to, like, oh, you did this, so you're bad. And then growing up and you get told those things, then you try to, I guess, essentially hide those parts of you.
Yes.
But if you don't acknowledge it, it's always going to be there, and it needs to be seen. It needs to be felt and heard, and it comes through the cracks one way or another. And so I feel like self-love is embodying all facets of yourself,
Agree. Being able to face yourself. Yeah. Because like you did mention, a lot of things in society, especially as being a woman and being a woman of color, we're told certain things that are acceptable and not acceptable.
Right.
And so we learn to, like, pick ourselves apart way too often. And so, like I said, self-love is something that has to be cultivated.
Was there ever a time when you felt like you didn't love yourself? And then when or if you did realize that, like, what did you do to kind of start pouring into yourself?
I mean, I could say that right now there's things that I don't necessarily love about myself that I'm still working on. One of the things is being honest with myself. And, like, I started therapy over the summer. And
shout out to therapy.
Yes, much needed.
I am a advocate for therapy. It is life-changing.
Agree. But just being able to let my guard down. And I don't really love that about myself, that I don't let my guard down. I always have this protective wall, and again, it could be because of growing up here in Utah and feeling like I'm constantly judged. Because even, like, I tell my kids now that there's a lot more diversity than when I was even growing up. So, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. Growing up, I learned to build this wall and not really allow myself to be open and honest, because Sometimes when I would get upset or anything, then, oh, you got an attitude. You got an attitude. You're acting too black, things like that. Or,
Not them associating attitude with being black.
yes, if you stand up for yourself, then,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
yeah.
it's seen as a negative thing. And
It
so
is.
I've learned to like kind of just pull in, and I'm just now starting to branch out. People tend to think that I'm an extrovert just from like seeing me modeling on social media and stuff, but I am very much an introvert, and I don't necessarily love that about myself. I'm learning how to balance that.
How to balance being an extrovert, or the fact of like you make yourself known on social media, therefore they assume that you're an extrovert when you're an introvert.
I think more of opening up, allowing, finding that balance to where I can open up. Because again, I am a teacher, and I'm like, well, here I am just to teach. But teachers are more effective when they build relationships.
Right.
So in order to build those relationships, I have to kind of let my guard down and let them in a
to
bit.
be vulnerable so you can be relatable.
Yes.
Okay.
And the same with like teaching yoga, modeling, all of that. And so I'm just trying to push myself to branch out a little bit more and not be so, because sometimes people can take being introvert and quiet as being bitchy when really
Yeah.
I'm just trying to protect myself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Okay.
Okay, so in the times that when you do like push past the boundaries and protective walls that you've created for yourself, like how does that feel for you?
Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Yeah. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. But then I also feel a sense of pride or happiness that I was able to push myself and I guess be more vulnerable.
Oh, I like. I feel bad. I feel like I'm grilling. I'm like, so yeah, and then based on this. So I guess I should answer some of the questions that I asked you.
Yes, please tell me.
What was that? What was some of the first ones? Self-love. Okay. So there has been times 100% that I have not loved myself. And I think I really notice it not with me as an individual when I walk it out into the world as an individual, but in relationships with my male counterparts, like in intimate relationships. I've been in situations where I put them before me. But I know that has to do with I didn't grow up with a father, and it was always like that. Why didn't he love me? Like, why didn't he choose me, before I even went into therapy. So it was always like that, why? But now as I've gone in therapy and stuff, like it had nothing to do with me, but I internalized that so much. And so then in that, it was always, well, he didn't love me, so I feel like I always have to prove that I am lovable.
Yes.
When I was born, so therefore I am lovable, but before coming to those realizations, I was always seeking approval of them. Like, choose me, pick me, I am lovable. Like, look at me, like, I'm this and I'm that. And that's just my inner child that was still seeking what I didn't get growing up.
Right.
But in that, of course, you learn to reparent yourself and to fill those holes with your own love, I'm trying to think what else we said.
Have you recognized that within yourself now? Like within
like
a
when
recent relationship where you realize I am putting myself first, or?
I think the fact that I barely be dating this one. I think that's me realizing like I'm putting myself first, because I'm like, there's no need for me to settle. In giving myself so much love, I am not afraid to be alone, if that makes sense. Like, I really enjoy my own company. Like, I got my TV, I got my cat. Like, I have people who love and care about me that I can hang out with. And so with that, it's just like, well, whoever is supposed to come along and fill that space, then great. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep pouring into it, So then it'll be an addition to the love I have for myself instead of like filling a space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm okay. I went through a lot of like hard lessons back to back to back to bring me here, but I think it was supposed to happen because it was like, hey, you got some lessons. You need to hurry up. And so,
Yeah. I think what both of us have said have been common themes as like because I was talking to my students about what they think self-love is. My question or what I think about is like how can we cultivate that earlier in life instead of getting to adulthood and then we're just finally
well,
figuring out how to love ourselves.
I think that is actually a great question, but it kind of goes back to the parent. Like, if the parent doesn't know what love is for themselves, they can either one, I know I didn't get it, therefore I'm gonna pour. It's like that metaphor about the two brothers that grew up with an alcoholic dad. One brother was like, I'm not gonna drink alcohol, I'm gonna be different, and then another person was like, well, this is all I know. And so it depends on the person. What do
How
you
do you internalize
choose?
it? Right.
You know, but then at the end of the day, in which I've learned in regards to like reparenting and my parents, is people only do what they know. They can only operate from their level of self-awareness. And so
Right.
if they was never exposed to it, and or they don't want to learn that, then they won't. And so then the kids will be raised a certain way. But when we get older, you can't keep blaming your parents. My mom and dad did this, so I'm finna be this. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, when are you gonna take accountability for yourself?
Right.
And so it's I think the questions are that, like, hopefully we have parents that know self-love and they can pour into their children and start, you know, teaching them how to love themselves and do things for themselves so they don't really be so dependent on that love from someone else. But if you don't, then when you get older, it's on you. Like, you can't keep blaming the way your life is on somebody else.
I agree.
Yeah. And I had to learn that because at one point I was always like, well, I grew up and I never had, you know. So I think it's tricky. But then, like, luckily we have, like, because my sister's a teacher too. But we have, like, teachers that still care, you know. And I know, like, well, based on the posts and stuff like that, and I'm going to assume, like, in class, like, you teach these things, you pour into your kids too, you know.
Yeah. A lot of when I tend to start my lessons has some type of like philosophy quote or so my undergrad is in psychology. And I feel like when I tell my students that you have to have a good understanding of yourself before you can really like critique or understand people. And that's what history is a study of people and the world. So I tend to start with different quotes and stuff that ask some questions where they have to look within. And a lot of times I get good feedback on that because they're able to, you know, just actually think about themselves and ponder on the questions. And so I think that they're starting to think about their feelings and the way they process things. I don't know.
What is like one of your favorite questions to ask to get someone to kind of like look within?
I tend to reference, I can't think of a question right now, but I reference J. Cole a lot with the students, where I say, I don't want you to think about what you've been taught from your parents, from your friends, from your teachers. I want you to sit with the questions I have for you and ask, what do you actually think? Not what do you think I should say. What do you actually think? So I think that's my favorite thing to do with them is actually really try to just dissect their thoughts and why they think certain things that they do. Was it something that was just taught to them, or is it something that they truly believe? And if they believe that, why do they believe that?
Yeah.
What is your source? Come back to
Yeah.
the sources. Because I think a lot too, especially with social media, we've developed opinions to be facts when that's not necessarily true. And the same with emotions. Emotions aren't facts either. So just developing the self as a whole. And I think it starts with the thought process.
And kind of like questioning your thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question. Do you have? I have like two questions.
Okay.
Do you have like a quote that you live by, or something that like really like holds true to you?
Okay, the first one that came to mind was I think, therefore I am. So, yeah.
I think mine is, if you can defeat the enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm.
Break that down for me a little bit.
I feel like with the first part, like if you can defeat the enemy within, like we are our worst enemy. We are our worst critic. We are always analyzing ourselves, overanalyzing. We are always judging ourselves. But if you can learn to quiet that voice and understand that voice, and when it comes up, feed it with love instead, then you kind of can become best friends. And if you are, and then in that point, you become so solid within yourself. Because I feel like the person who can hurt you the most is yourself.
True.
So then if you are one with yourself and you're solid within yourself, it doesn't matter who or what they say.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay. Like you said, like, but everyone has an opinion. Like, everyone has an asshole. It doesn't, you know? Like, yeah. And so, like, when you really become that one with yourself, who can touch you, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's kind of like my life. I'm like always just trying to focus on self-mastery, which, I mean, you'll never self-master. It's a lifelong journey, but
Yes.
it's definitely something I enjoy and I'm committed to, you know? Okay, so you say you have a undergrad in psychology? With that, do you like subconsciously like see things in others and like process it without realizing it?
What do you mean by that?
Because, you know, like people with like a psychology degree, like you notice body language, you notice like what somebody say, or like, you know what I mean? Like, is it stuff like you just automatically like analyze? And it's not like necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, it's just in you, you know. Does that happen for you?
Yes, to a point it does. It just kind of reminded me when I used to date and I was going to school for psychology, and someone would ask me, you know, what are you studying? I hated saying psychology because then they're like, oh, are you judging me right now? Are you? Even like my first, when I went to Vegas, my first, what is it called? Help me out. Lap dance, right? Stripper. Okay. And
Wait, you got a lap dance?
Hey. Yeah. And I did the wrong thing because she asked me, what do you do? And I said, I'm a psychology student. And then right from there, like the whole thing just kind of went.
She was like, dang, I can't even dance in front of her now.
I'm like, I'm not judging you.
She's like, what's she thinking about my moves?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang, so you couldn't even get a proper lap dance after that's messed up.
I didn't.
Shoo, you ain't get no cheese
horrible.
clapping or nothing.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I'm gonna start telling people that when I don't want to talk to them. So what you do? I'm a psychologist.
Right?
I'm gonna give them the
Watch
Oscar.
how they just switch up on you, because they will. Like, wait.
So you judge me right now? I'll be like, yep. And I don't like it. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Shoot. Okay, so you have all boys, right? Mm-hmm. How do you teach them, like, self-love, you know? Like, as a mom, because that, like, how a mother speaks to her sons and how their father speaks, like, it's so different, you know?
Yeah. And I definitely think that it's hard, again, being a parent this day and age, because you are working against social media and things like that. So they're sending one message to young men, and then you have the parents trying to send another message. And we're trying to break away from like the gender norms, right? But then, where was I going with that? I don't remember, but let's go forward.
We flowing.
Yes. So I try to, again, just instill them to to love themselves in a sense that they're not going to let people walk over them.
Right.
And that they will have a sense of pride, but then not to be over prideful to where they can't be reached, I guess you could say. But again, it's hard because they think that what I've noticed with them growing up is that if they get attention from girls, then they have worth, right? But if they don't, then they don't have worth. Or if they are, like my oldest played basketball for a long time, and that's all he associated himself with was basketball. So then when it didn't go further after college, he's like, who am I now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do I belong?
That happened to my sister, yeah.
Yeah, and even when he was, let me describe my oldest son for you, okay? He's about my skin tone. He's very handsome, has these bright green eyes, but he did not think he was good looking because his father moved out to Harriman, so he went to high school in Harriman, and the girls all wanted an LDS white boy, and that was not him.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, do you know that if you were raised in California and blah, 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 they would eat you alive, right? So just trying to let him know that he's more than even his looks, right? So I think just helping them develop things that they can love about themselves outside of the physical form, outside of, talent or things like that. It's just, sorry, I have so many things coming in my head right now.
No, you go ahead. Feel free. Just we flowing. Like it's no rhyme or reason or no good answer. It's just how you feel.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of my teenage boys right now, and again, they're so worried about the girls giving them attention.
Yeah.
That it's hard for them to feel like they are. I don't know. One of my middle son right now, he had a girl break his heart a couple of months ago, and she just played him. And he's going to be so mad that I say that, but she did. And I could see it, and I was trying to warn him, but not overstep. But I'm just like, she's not moving right. That's not adding up and things like that. And then she ended up dogging him out. And bless you. I told him that, don't worry, they always come back around. But by then, I want you to feel better about yourself. And because he wasn't feeling too good about himself, he wasn't happy about his weight, so I got him a personal trainer. He started working out, and he just started feeling good about himself, and now she's back around.
Can you take her back?
He is, and I'm telling him, slow down, back up. Don't just let her come right back. She needs to earn it. You need to start with just being friends, and but I feel like I'm telling him to do these things when he hasn't seen an example of that. And I'm putting myself in that spot, saying that he has not. I don't think I was the best example for him in how to make someone work for your love and your attention. And so now I'm kind of kicking myself, I should have instilled that more. But he's hearing my words, but he didn't get to see my actions. Does that make sense?
Give yourself grace,
I'm trying. But it's hard, especially when... Yeah, I think as a mom, that's another thing that I'm working on for self-love is I judge myself a lot as a parent. How could I have been a better role model? How could I have done things different with them? So, I don't know. Another thing I'm working on in therapy.
Yeah. My mom watched my shows. I love you, Mom. But my mother and I talk about that a lot. Just her being the best friend. We're all grown now, but she's like, no, I could have done this better, and this and this. And I'm like, you did the best that you could with what you had. Especially being a young mom, you're starting out, you're learning lessons just as you're being a mom,
right?
So 100%. You do have to kind of forgive yourself and give yourself that grace, because your kids aren't going to hold it against you, especially when you're open and honest and loving and vulnerable. I think it's held against you from just me speaking from a child to a parent, when you're not vulnerable, when you pretend like you're perfect and you don't mess up. Then when you see you mess up, I'll be like, oh, oh, don't even try to tell me nothing, because I just, but when you're
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm human, I mess up, I'm here talking to you, I'm being open,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing this so we can have that relationship, but I'm still your parent, like that makes for such a cohesive relationship.
I agree.
So I'm not in your household or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're doing just amazing. Especially it's
Thank
hard
you.
raising boys,
I don't know if I could have raised girls, to be honest. Now that I'm a teacher and I have girls, I have 5 brothers and no sisters. So I feel like God was kind of gearing me towards to raise young men. But just how you touched on that, I just wanted to say that's exactly why because I didn't have a good relationship with my mother because of the choices that she made. But I actually like mended that relationship with her because I said I want my kids to one day be able to forgive me if I
Right.
make any mistakes.
Right.
So while I still might not understand some of the choices she made, I did not want to hold that against her for the rest of her life because she did apologize to me. So
Oh, that's
that's
nice.
good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Full circle moment.
Yes.
Yeah. I just have a little brother. But we didn't treat him like sisters. Like we were all tomboys, so we were all like, nah, we was pushing him, beating him up, all this stuff. He went to prom, handed him condoms, like, we know what this is. Stop trying to play. You getting the thing, so ain't I know you finna, I know. And he was like, man, watch out, man, like watch out. And I was like, nah, like I'm gonna be real with you because it's gonna come up, and I'm a female. And so even if he would say like, man, nobody trying to hear this, I knew he was listening, even though he was just like, nah. And so it was points like in our livelihood, like I think I was too far of a gap, but there were times where he's come to me, he's come to my other sister and being like, hey man, I got this going on, like what you think? And of course we're like, man, hell yeah, like, and then we'll like completely honest.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easier for siblings to kind of sometimes get the point across with siblings than a parent,
Agree.
because they're like, man, they don't know. Even though parents be knowing, they be knowing. Mama, I used to do that. I've been around the block. I know the game. And I be like, she don't know nothing. 10 years later, mommy, So like, yeah, I like, yeah.
I think my boys and I are a little more open than we're very open. I will say that.
That's really
they
good.
come and tell me things that sometimes I wish I didn't know.
Especially in today's day and age, I feel like, because like how we grew up, it was completely different. The world was so much more smaller. We weren't exposed to everything that kids today are exposed to.
Right.
Like we had to hunt and search for the things that like they can just open up, and
Yes.
so I feel like having that more real relationship is like essential nowadays. Like you have to.
Most definitely. Just talking about how you were mentioning like the news earlier and like everything that's going on right now with the Roe versus Wade and the abortion stuff. We were talking about it in class because, the students want to discuss the things that are going on. And they were saying, well, because some people protest Planned Parenthood and they don't just offer abortions, they do. And then I told them the story about my oldest son. I said, exactly. I was like, when my oldest son was 14 and I started talking to him about sex and he's like, I don't want to hear that. I was like, most STDs are with students in middle school because no one thinks they're doing it, and the elderly because no one
not
thinks
elderly.
Yes, the elderly in the middle school.
Okay, wait. That's. I mean, what's elderly? Like, what's the age on that?
I mean, what do you think they're doing up there in their retirement homes?
I mean, I
they
ain't
get
think they
bored
had the
and
juice
lonely.
no more. I thought it was shrivel up, dried up. I thought it was out of business.
There's Viagra. There's there's quite a few, but most people don't. They have the highest STDs because people don't think they're doing it and they don't want to talk to them about sex and everything. But when my son turned 14, I wanted to have that conversation. His dad was more religious and was like, if we don't talk about it, he won't do it. Don't even talk about masturbation, blah, blah, blah. That's not how I had him at 16. I'm not, come on, right? So, and I told him, I was like, I know you're getting information from your friends at school, but they don't know what they're talking about either. So I took him to Planned Parenthood, and I just said, I want him to be able to ask questions that he might not want to ask me, and his friends don't know what they're talking about. So I left the room, and they talked to him about STDs and condoms, how to use them, and all those things. And his dad's like, "You're just, trying to get him ready to have sex, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "No, I just want him to be informed. I want him to have the information so he can make the best decisions for himself," right? And he thought it was cool that he got a condom, kind of like how you gave your brother and stuff. But the students were saying, that, "Yeah, that's good. That's what parents should be doing that." And, we should have, because in school, in Utah, you can only talk about abstinence only. So you can't have those conversations.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So wait. Okay. So wait, in school you can only say
In health class,
don't
it's
have
abstinence
sex
only until marriage.
You lying like I'm not gonna cuss on this episode. You lying.
Utah is an abstinence only.
So wait, they only teach you do not have sex.
Pretty much.
That's it.
They don't
And
talk
they
about
tell you till marriage?
contraceptives and
They push the whole till marriage thing.
now again, I don't teach health, so
Okay,
I can't
okay,
say, but
yeah,
I know
yeah,
it is
but-
an abstinence only, and so they don't talk about contraceptives and things like that.
It ain't right.
No.
Ooh, Lord.
And coming back to the whole
That's
self-love,
crazy.
I feel like a lot of it's harder for females to have that sense of self-love when it feels like they're constantly being attacked for being a woman, right?
That's insane. Yeah. I'm still just trying to wrap my...
Process. Yeah. It's kind of interesting, the things that we can and can't talk about in schools. I mean, the whole critical race theory has kind of rattled people up in what we can and can't talk about. And again, that going back to self-love, how can students love themselves if they can't even see themselves?
Right.
They can't see themselves within the curriculum, and they...
So, and I think that's a great question, especially, a great point, not a great question, but a great point, because here in Utah, like I do realize, of course, I'm blessed to say I did not grow here. Lord Jesus. But I just feel like for people who don't see themselves in another, especially like kids growing up, what do you think like we could do as African American women, or just like individuals, period, to help like kids or people who don't see themselves in one another, who doesn't know what self-love is or even where to begin in self-love? Like, where do you think we could start? Because you see a lot more than I do, just based on like where you work too.
If you have the time, then I think mentorship is a great thing to do. They had the Big Brothers, Big Sisters program. I'm pretty sure it's still around. I'm not 100% sure, but just like I try to bring in the community into the school for different activities and lessons and stuff, because I think it's important that students can see, Black women being professional and not necessarily having kids, or, you know what I mean? Or for a Friday or an activity that I had at the school for Black History Month, I had my friend Chance come in, and he owns a bakery, and he's Black and he's also gay. And it's, again, representation for those students to be able to see that. So I think just being able to volunteer your time with the youth, or just taking the time, especially here in Utah, I know you're not doing the retail anymore, but just just the little, hey, what's up to the kid, see.
I still offer to do girls' hair. They come up to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it for free. Like, this is what you have to do, or like, stuff like that. I just, when I think about just in the society that we grow in, and in here, it is more sheltered in regards to what I feel like is being taught. And just in this conversation, it's just like, dang, I want to do more. Like, yeah, I want to be an influencer. But in that, and when I say that, it's
Mm-hmm.
like for people that look like me, that people that don't look like me, I want to be relatable. I have no problem with being open and vulnerable, you know. And but then when I think about just the younger generations, like if I could help so they don't have to go through certain hardships, you know, I would love to get into that. And so like if you ever like have a volunteer event or something like that, let me know. I'm more than happy to join because
Most
I
definitely.
mean, this is so corny to say in my head. It's like, I believe the children are our future.
They really
But no,
are.
like for real, for real. The song popped in my head as I was talking, but like they are our future, you know. And if
Yeah.
we can pour love into them, and even give them the love that we felt like we didn't give or get and stuff like that, like I'm all for that.
Sweet.
Yeah. So let me know if
I
anything comes
will.
up.
I already have something in mind. I actually want to do so what at my school what we call is Friday activities, and that's where students can sign up to come and they can get credit and everything for that. But I want to do something that is about like self-empowerment. And I was thinking of having a diverse group of models of, you know, different skin tones, weight and everything come and talk about what it's like, you know, for them to be that, how they found the beauty within themselves. Also have asking to have transgender and drag queens and just having a wide range of representation that schools might not necessarily have.
Right. Right.
So,
That's great.
yes.
That's great. I feel like we're probably like at the end, so I'm just gonna wrap
Okay.
it up. But I do want to ask, what is one thing that you do that is loving for yourself every day? I know you said meditate. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else? Like, do you have like a habit? Like, I know every day when I wake up or when I go to bed, like, what is something that you do to pour love into yourself every day?
So the first thing I do when I wake up every morning is I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it can be just like, I'm grateful that it's raining because we need the water. I'm grateful to be waking up in this bed. You know, just simple things. So I always try to start my morning with a sense of gratitude. And another thing to work on that I've been working on is every time I look in the mirror, something that I do love about myself, because I do have that habit to break myself down, is saying something that I do love about myself.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Affirmations, affirmations.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you?
I wish I could wake up. I mean, I could. Now, I'm not going to say I wish I could. I'm not going to say that because I could. I don't wake up and be like, I'm grateful for, you know, because you just kind of get it in this like monotonous, like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to work, and you know, I'm trying to now every morning I listen to a motivational speech
Okay.
just to kind of get my mind right for the day and to kind of not get a hustle mentality, but yeah, hustle mentality essentially. But I would say I'm big on affirmations.
Okay.
So I have on my desk like a whole bunch of stick-it post-it notes that has like all of these positive affirmations. And I also have a vision board that I made and I have it on my wall. So I'm always looking at it and I'm always reading affirmations because sometimes I get frustrated and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, a post-it note, and then I end up reading it. So that's like one thing that, yeah, I have for myself is my little affirmations.
Nice.
Do you have a book that you have read that like changed your life at all?
Um,
That's like could be dealing with self-love or anything?
one book that I love that I tend to share with students is The Alchemist. And
I want to read that. I haven't read that one.
yeah, it has, I mean, it does have a religious aspect to it, but it's so many different ones. So it shows students that, like, but the root of it is all finding it within yourself. And so that's why I like to share that one with students as well. And it's one of my top favorites.
Mine is called The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. It just really teaches you like you really have all the love that you need. You don't need love from anybody else. That's just like a plus. They give a great scenario. Like imagine you had a kitchen full of all your favorite foods. And so you never gonna go hungry. Every day you wake up, you got your favorite food, and then somebody got the nerve to knock on your door and be like, "Hey man, for this pizza, if you if you give me all these things, you can have this pizza. And then you're like, I don't need your pizza. I mean, I got my house full of all my favorite foods. And it's kind of like an analogy of like the food is all your love and for yourself, and somebody giving you something less than that. But yeah, that book was like life changing for me.
I like that one. I like to, there's a certain passage I like to reference during my yoga classes. So, and the gist of it is just to breathe is just enough to enjoy life. So, no expectations, no anything else, just to have the breath.
I need to learn how to breathe.
Come to a yoga class.
I ain't flexible, man.
It's not about being flexible. We go to a whole nother one. We need to do another episode on yoga because it's not about being flexible.
And y'all gonna be like, exhale. I'm like, ugh. Like, I'm be like,
you just said yourself, I need to learn to breathe. A lot of yoga is learning the breath. The breath is life.
Okay. I do need to. Okay, like the whole. I don't even know what else. I'm not even gonna try to pretend. So I'm gonna go ahead. But no, I really appreciate you coming today.
Of course.
This has been a great episode. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you guys for
tuning
tuning in. And we will see you later. Peace.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, you right. Thank you. Shout out to Alonzo for correcting me before we even ended that.
So my modeling page on Instagram is Salty Kitty, and it's because I love cats and I grew up in Salt Lake City.
I was wondering. I didn't want to,
I do like the little hidden innuendo. I'm not going to say I don't. But it's mainly, but salty, the root of salt can mean different things. You can be salty, like have a salty attitude, but salt as being grounded. So I like that. I like that people can whatever. And then also that yogi chick for my yogi page.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's up. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.